Welcome to our vibrant network of governance, risk, compliance, and cybersecurity leaders. We share cutting-edge insights, best practices, and innovative strategies to empower professionals in navigating the dynamic cyber threat landscape. Join Circolo de CISO to ignite resilience and data protection across industries.
Welcome back to another episode on how to be street smart in the cyberspace. And with me is my guest, Anurag Tewary. He's been speaking about the human psychology and how the attack vectors use AI to enhance the attack vectors. And today, my conversation with Anurag is going to be, if you recall, if you have listened to the previous episode, you recall that he did mention humans are the weakest link. So, Anurag, I have a question for you. Are humans really weak or are they making errors? What's the narrative here? Oh, to you, Anurag.
Yeah, thanks, Sujit. So I think again, I would look at it as a couple of different factors. Human error is always there. I think we can talk about it, and those probably are the ones which are easier to fix because error is something that you unknowingly ended up doing. You learn from it, and you can fix it and correct it. I think what's more important is some of the other aspects which are among the human psyche and some of the systemic and cultural issues that also play here. And for example, and I think we were discussing offline as well, like in different regions, you would see based on the socioeconomic, the socioeconomic situation in that region, um, one would be willing to make some easy money because um, if you talk about the human psyche at the core, um, I would actually start with saying everyone has certain vices amongst them, right? What keeps us clean and honest and a good person in front is basically the fact that we feel that somebody is watching us. And once you take that feeling away and you move to the digital world where it's perceived to be anonymous, both as a user as well as on the other side, the attacker who feel that they're anonymous, many of those vices come to play out even more and in a very amplified manner. So, for example, what are those vices that we think are being used here in the overall situation? One is greed. So the greed is obviously for money, or maybe any whatever greed one has. Primarily, you see it more in the people falling for making um, you know get falling for, I would say, fake investment scams. There could be a greed for making a commission on letting your PII out and creating bank accounts that can then be used by these attackers to kind of distribute the money that they receive from the victims, and creating those mule accounts, right? So to create those bank accounts, you need to provide documents to the banks to kind of have those created, and they source these documents from people through their not having their buy-in because they promise them a certain amount of money in return of the money they make. I mean, that's again greed. And there is other aspects of human vices like lust. So all things we talked about, honey trapping in the section before. You fall for those traps on online apps, could be social apps, could be dating apps, where you are scammed into eventually, or blackmailed to kind of either fall for a financial, or I would say in return of money or in return of certain data that is very critical to the organization or to a nation. So I wanted to basically put a picture on the fact why we will see in the times to come more of these attacks happening using online or digital platforms, because this perceived anonymity is there. And what we need to take away from this is it's perceived, as we spoken about before as well offline, that People think they are anonymous, but they are not really. When it comes to tracking them down on the both sides, it's fairly doable. It may not be easy all the time, but it's doable. So one needs to be aware of actions they take online, and be more mindful of what they do. Um, the other piece that we also touched upon, and just more of a recap now, is it's not just the I would say the uneducated or the illiterate or the blue collar who are going through it and suffering through it. It's the white collar. Most of the cases that we see now is amongst the metros and the urban cities, the white collar professionals, people who are in IT, people who are in law enforcement are falling for it. And that's the psyche there is I know it all psyche. It's like it cannot happen with me. I'm too good for it, right? But which is not true. Uh, in your day, in your day-to-day schedule, people are taking advantage of the limited time you have, the busyness, and again touching upon some of the aspects related to panic, related to shame, because you don't want to come out, or your, let's say, explicit video or explicit images, or the chats that you've had, let's say, on an online dating, and they don't want it to be shared in a public in public at large, so they exchange it in terms of the money that they ask for. And I feel the other aspect is this space is constantly evolving. The advent of AI in this has put everything out on a spiral mode, because people on the bad guys are also playing with what could be the next way of misusing it and trying to come up with more different ways of, of scamming people at large. And there's where I think it will take a while for all of us to kind of settle down what are those common modus operandi out there and come up with ways to mitigate it or ways to prevent it. I think in general, what I feel is the good guys or the cops are always catching up with the bad guys in every realm, whether it's a digital or in the physical. So in the digital realm today, things are evolving so fast that by the time you get a handle on what happened in the, let's say, last year, there are already a bunch of another 10 modus operandi out there in the market, which the scammers are using. So again, coming back to what you started with and what I said earlier, human is the weakest link. One of the things that we really need to do and could be our only savior is how do you make sure that everybody from a kid to an elderly person is aware of their responsibilities, and is aware of what's happening around the digital ecosystem, and taking to them the message of what a good digital citizenship means. Again, it's the basics which we've been told when we work in corporates, having strong passwords, don't use passwords at multiple places and things like that.
Yeah.
So
So,
there will.
Anurag, if I may interrupt, right? So, I would like you to come back on another session where we talk about how do we reinvent and get people to, be mindful what to do and what not to do. So, I would like to take that as a separate conversation. Right? So, I would like to also add a few points to what you just said. So, it's not about being a high-profile target, but everybody is a target, every living and dead.
Mhm.
Now, if you look at what we are hearing in the US, the dead people are probably have been receiving aid or social security. That's another form, right? Somebody intentionally or unintentionally did it. And looking at from the bank's perspective, where the money is being laundered through certain underprivileged people because they have a physical need which they need to meet, or a greed is setting in, which also gives rise to a question: are the banks enforcing the KYC correctly? Because at the time of opening the account, they would ask, what's your expected transactions, or what's the income you expect, and where do you expect this monies to come from? And even if they say that they're going to get 20,000 a month, And if that is going to be over and above by a certain percentage, shouldn't the banks have analytics and controls in play to detect this? So that there can be a early detection. And that's probably a separate discussion for us. So I'm just going to wrap this up here, Anurag, and I'm going to bring you back into the next episode where we talk about how do we reinvent the cybersecurity training and how do we help the society at large to stay safe. So, viewers, please stay tuned to our next episode where we're going to be talking about reinventing the security training and awareness, not necessarily to the corporates, but mostly to the wider society. If you have any thoughts, you're most welcome to share with us. And if you have any topics which you want us to discuss, or you want to be a speaker in one of our sessions, we're more than happy to host you in this platform. Anurag, thank you so much for spending time with me and walking us through human weakness vis-a-vis with the psychology of or psyche of an attacker and a victim. Thank you so much.